Hey, what is
Hello,
happening,
everyone.
everybody?
Happy Thursday night. Welcome to our office and welcome to Thursday Night Live.
This is what we do on the fourth Thursday of each month. What we want to do is we want to review our content from the last month and what's coming up this month and do a question and answer with all of you. We've got a bunch of fantastic questions coming your way tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for everybody who submitted a question.
Yeah.
You can do so at nosmalllifebooking@gmail.com. You can also do it on all of our Instagram direct messaging.
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
All the messengers.
We're Chris and Megan Rhea, and basically what we do is we have a message that your life is not small. No matter what you've walked through in the past, if you're not living a cookie cutter life,
Right.
if life didn't go the way you expected it to go,
Which that's a lot of us, right?
we want to help you rebuild your life, and not just rebuild your life, but rebuild a life you absolutely love.
Yes.
Megan and I walked through infertility. We thought our life was over. We thought our dreams had all come to an end. But guess what? Here we are, 42 years old, living our best life because we created a new blueprint for the future. We want to help you do exactly the same.
Absolutely.
So as people are joining, we're going to encourage you. Use the comment feature. You want to ask us a question, we'll answer it. But we're going to jump right in because we got a bunch of questions to get to from some of you who reached out on us social media. Megan, what's our first question here?
Yeah, so the first question. So basically what we're covering tonight is January topics, how to let go.
How to let go.
And so this month so far, we've talked about how to let go of fear, how to let go of pain, and how to let go of regret. And we asked you guys, like Chris said, for what are some things that you're having difficulties letting go of? And this first question came in through Facebook, and it says this: how do I release bitterness?
Wow.
How do I release bitterness? I feel toward my sister-in-law and try to sit down and talk with her and forgive her for yelling at me years ago, but I've literally held my tongue for 30 years. Guys, that's a long time to be carrying pain. How do I let this go? It's bothering me. And first of all, I applaud you. Like, that's huge.
Yes.
The fact that you've lived with this for such a long duration of time, but you're like, no, I know this is holding me back. I know this is taking root in my life. What do I do about it?
Yeah, and there was a follow-up question. Someone else asked, how do I let go of hurt or betrayal? So we're going to kind of answer both of these in one fell swoop. Swoop?
Is it swoop?
Swoop or swoop?
Is there an SH in there?
I don't know.
Swoop?
This is a tough one, especially when it comes to family, because, family, you're kind of in. You're going to see people all the time. You're going to see them at holidays, upcoming events, kids' birthdays. So what do we do? What we want to share with you tonight is, if you're going through this, if you're having trouble forgiving someone, if you're holding on to a hurt or you feel betrayed, here's what we're going to talk about tonight. Number one, if you have the ability to, as hard as it is, try to have a conversation with that person. Too many times we bottle things up, we shove things down, we talk to everybody else except the person that we feel betrayed by, or the person we need to talk with. And what happens is we end up triangulating things, we end up making a mess. So the key is to communicate with that person.
Right.
But not just communicate, because how many know when emotions are high, you can communicate the wrong way.
Oh, I know that.
When you shove things down, all of a sudden you blurt it out. You can just get upset or angry. So what we want to do is be assertive, but not aggressive.
Right.
Big difference.
Yes.
Assertive is telling someone what you wish you had more of or less of in the relationship, how they offended you, and why you feel that way. Aggressive is like, you did this 30 years ago, and if you don't stop, I'm going to kick your butt, and we're going to have a big problem.
Right? Yeah.
So number one, what we want to do is we want to walk you through a few steps. Now, we have a video post about this on our YouTube channel called How to Forgive, or our 6 steps to granting forgiveness. We have that on our YouTube channel. We'll walk through the steps a little bit right now. And the first one is to admit that you've been hurt.
Yeah.
So when you have a conversation, it's okay to acknowledge your pain and your anger. Listen, when you did this, I felt this way. It bothered me. As long as you do that in a safe way, you keep calm, you create an environment to have conversation and for people to listen to you. Create that safe place to talk where emotions aren't running hot and where you can actually listen and have some dialogue.
Right.
The next thing is be specific about what your future expectations are. Listen, you talked to me this way in front of my family.
Right.
You hurt me, you betrayed me. And moving forward, this is my expectation. It's here. If you do this, I'm going to be very upset and very hurt. So the expectation is here. And then, Megan Ria, what's the third step in that?
The third step is to give up your right to get even, or insist on, give up your right to get even, but insist on being treated better in the future.
Yeah, and I see that we got a comment here from Laurel. I've forgiven. She still she runs away for a kid. She's extremely aggressive. Listen, when the kids are around, it's not the best time to talk. I would try to set up a coffee or something with her. Now, I get it. If someone is extremely aggressive, then there's some things that you're going to have to calculate in your conversation. How can you make it, hey, when you did this, I feel this way, instead of matching aggression? Now, if a person tries to bulldoze you or steamroll you, you got to understand that maybe this person, you're not going to get through to them.
Right.
So how do you move on and live life without this person affecting your emotions?
Right.
Because what you're doing is you're giving another person access to your emotional well-being. If I allow someone in my family to dictate my emotions, we just gave them so much power in our lives. So how can you minimize their power in your life?
That's so good.
And one of the ways to do that is to say, listen, I've tried. I can't get through this person. This is how I feel. If they won't get through, then hey, we're going to throw up a boundary for a season. And I'm just not going to respond to aggressive behavior. When they start to be aggressive with me, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to be in the room. I'm not going to acknowledge that kind of behavior. When you feel like you can have a conversation with me, I literally said this to people when they get aggressive with me. Hey, listen, bring it down. This is me and you talking. You're not going to raise your voice.
Sure.
You're not going to have that body language with me. We're going to talk like this, and we're going to have a conversation. And that's how it's going to be. You dictate the rules. When you match an aggressive person, just get assertive and say, this is how it's going to go.
Right.
Usually, they'll bring it down. If they refuse to bring it down, then all you're doing is you're matching childlike behavior with childlike behavior, and you're not going to get any further. So you have to make peace within yourself, regardless if you get the result from the other person you were looking for.
That's so good. And, as far as it depends on you, right? And you can't control that other person. But sometimes I like to say, like, you're never going to get maple syrup from an elm tree, right? Like, some people, you may not get what you want from them. So you just have to say, as far as it depends on me, I'm going to keep my heart clean in this situation. I'm going to choose to let go of blame.
So Laurel, real quick, this is sister-in-law, it looks like. What about going to your brother and pulling him aside and saying, listen, me and you are going to have to work this out because me and sister-in-law aren't going to figure this out, or whoever it is. Like, go to the person that you can trust and that you do have good relationship with and say, listen, this is how it's going to be.
Right. That's not triangulating. That's trying to seek reconciliation.
Yeah. So you got to work towards reconciliation when it's safe. If it's not safe, this is what Megan's advice and our advice is: put up a boundary.
Yeah.
Listen, if I can't be safe, if my kids can't be safe around you, well, for the meantime, we're not going to be in the same vicinity as everybody.
Sure.
So if they're around, they won't listen, they won't change their behavior. We throw up a boundary and we say, hey, we're not going to participate when that person or the kids are around this event because it just doesn't feel safe to do so.
Right. And then that's the choice. The power is back in your hands to choose to say, I'm not going to let this other person dictate how I feel. Right. I'm going to choose to walk in joy, to walk in freedom around my family. And that you'll feel that a negative emotion bubble up. It's going to happen when you're around that person. Forgiveness can be a continual choice.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's normal. That's human. That's the opportunity for you and the Holy Spirit to kind of go, okay, God, help me in this moment to forgive them, to see them as you see them. God, give me new eyes to see this person. And a lot of times you'll be amazed at the compassion, the empathy that the Lord will give you in that moment to operate as him, as his love in that situation for that person.
Yeah.
But it's a great question.
Laurel, you feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
Regardless if no one takes you seriously or says you're taking things too personally, you feel the way you feel. And that's the truth. And if you feel that way, someone needs to validate that feeling.
Right.
And if they're not willing to validate that feeling, that means they're either immature or unable to have high social interaction with others. Which, when I see that, I don't want to be divisive, but I do put up a boundary and protect myself and my family for other people coming in and having too much influence there.
Right.
So I want to just encourage you. You've got this. You've got what it takes. And remember this, like Megan said, sometimes a lot of people are hurt and they try to react. That aggressive behavior is usually that's how they were treated when they were young. And so maybe just ask a ton of questions. Why are you talking to me that way? Why do you feel the way you do? Why are you so aggressive right now? I just want to get to a solution.
Yes, absolutely.
So the next question is, it comes from all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
You want to go this one first, Chris, or you want to go to the next one?
Question 2.
Okay. Question 2. How do I let go of fear, pain, regret? Great question.
How do I let go of fear, pain, and regret? Wow, the big 3. That's powerful. Well, lucky for you, we've done a few videos on this, and we're going to keep doing videos on this next month. But the biggest thing with pain and regret of the past, there's a few steps you got to understand. Number 1 is you got to accept it. Like, there's no way we can change the past.
Right.
There's no one who really invented a time machine, and we can't go back in time and fix the past. So what we have to do is accept this is what happened in the past. We're humans. We make mistakes. We mess up. I did this. We did this. This happened to me. I can't change it. So how do I move forward as the healthiest version of myself?
Yep.
The second thing you do is you confess. Hey, man, I messed up. I did something I regret in my past. I had this pain of the past, this choice I made. I didn't really want to make that choice, but I did. So God, I'm sorry for that. What it does is it just kind of gets it out of your innermost being. You see, when we shove things down, it's that stuff that we shove down, those negative emotions, that regret of the past, we shove it down. It ends up taking an emotional and physical toll on our body. So we confess it to God. Hey, I'm sorry, God, I did this in the past. You talk about it with another person. Hey, I did this to so-and-so. You get it out. You can clear it up. You can feel much better.
Yes, absolutely. And then the third one is to learn from your mistake, to learn from that past, to learn from that pain. I just want to encourage you, like, the pain doesn't have to mark you in a negative way long term, right? We can always learn from our pain, and you're going to carry a piece of that with you, but it doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be negative. It can be, I learned this and I am better because of this, right? I grew from this. Like, we can't, like Chris said, we don't have a time machine. We can't go back. But going forward, how can I learn from this?
Yeah. And
what can I do differently next time?
Part of learning is wondering why you made that choice.
That's so true.
Like,
yeah.
What is in your past?
Mm-hmm.
What trauma have you been through?
Yeah.
This is where I'm at in life. The more we ponder life, the more we watch behavior, and this will help you too, Laurel, is Why are people being aggressive?
Yeah.
Why did I make that choice in the past? I
Right.
was triggered. I had trauma. Something happened in me to make me make that choice. Maybe I got drunk. Maybe I got high. Maybe I did something and my inhibitions were lower. What made me go that route or do the things that I did? That way you can learn from it and kind of adjust behavior moving forward.
Absolutely. And then the last piece of that is what I love so much. It's to stop focusing on what's wrong with you and start focusing on what's right with you. See, human nature, our mind is to go to the negative. Our mind is to define ourselves by our worst qualities, right? And we all have these things in ourselves that we don't like, but that's not what defines you.
Right.
Okay? What defines you is what God says about you. And the word says that you're chosen, that you're loved, that you're cared for, that you're, I mean, it could go on and on. Just read Ephesians 1, like, it's just a bullet point of who you are. And it's amazing. And if we can get that in our mind, I'm going to talk about this in a couple other points as well, but if we can get that in our minds and stop focusing, fixating, I guess I should say, on what we're not, and start focusing on who we are, our behaviors start to change. We learn from our past. We springboard from that past into the future that we actually want. And it kind of ties into the third question we want to talk about tonight.
Well, just to add one more thing to that is like Christians, we're the worst. We look at what's wrong with us all the time. We focus on what's wrong, how horrible we are.
And we do it in the name of like piety, right?
Yeah,
we do it in the name of
I'm
like
such a terrible person.
Right, like false humility. Yeah.
No, there's a lot right in you.
Yes.
God redeemed you. He called you by name. You're his. You can focus on that. And Laurel, another thing I just want to say to you is a lot of times we use our nationality or our personality to be aggressive or to be jerks to people.
To justify it.
There's no personality or nationality that allows you to be a jerk. We have to function in society as human beings. So whatever you can do to be assertive and to make your points known and not get walked over, but at the same time, just be humble, be yourself and walk in love, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Number three.
How
do I get rid of my bad habits?
Woo! Coming in hot. I told the person who asked this, I'm like, that's got some big like January energy behind it, right? Like we want to change our habits. Like, how do I get rid of the habits that maybe they're bad habits, maybe they're just habits that you're like, I don't want to do this any longer. I want to function differently. So how do we actually change behavior patterns?
It's very tough. I mean, as human beings, we naturally want to escape pain and run to things that are comfortable. We hate being uncomfortable. So habits are usually a way of self-protecting ourselves or escaping from some kind of pain.
Right.
For instance, I was hanging a light fixture when we first moved into our house. And I was trying to hang this light fixture. And I thought it should take me 15 or 20 minutes. It took me 4 hours. And by the end of the project, I had my entire drywall ceiling ripped apart. It wasn't any closer. You know what I did is I went to McDonald's and I got a large fry and a large shake. And man, I felt better. I felt comforted. I felt like a little serotonin rush in my brain with that sugar.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do, right? The problem wasn't solved, but I needed to escape from the problem to a habit and try to get some resolve, try to get some comfort from it. And that's what we do. So usually a bad habit is birthed in pain. I was traumatized. I had this problem growing up and I learned to cope with this problem by doing A, B, and C. Alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, pornography, going into the opposite sex's arms. We want to cope with our pain, and that's what bad habits are. So before you can fix a habit, that's what we try to do. We try to fix the symptom, right? The symptom is the bad habit. What's at the core? What's at the core? That's what you got to identify. What is the thing inside that's broken? And when you fix what's broken, the bad habits will disappear. You won't have to try as hard. So our advice would be to see a therapist, to talk to someone who can try to pinpoint the fear, the trauma, the pain, the anger in your life that is leading to the bad habit that goes on to fix the pain in your life and bring comfort to that pain. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep. And you really have to change um, the narrative that you're telling yourself. You know, a lot of times we tell ourselves that, well, this is just who I am, right? We create these habits because we have a belief about ourselves that may or may not be true, because we have this great thing called a brain that is constant. We have neuroplasticity. We can literally change the way that we think. And so if a habit is a pattern that we establish based on how we think about ourselves, what we have to do is change how we think about ourselves, right? Okay, so if you say, like, I'm just going to take, for instance, like, I'm just a person who is always running late.
Right.
Okay. I'm always running late. I'm perpetually late, you know, but it's just who I am. It's not who you are.
No.
It's a habit that you've adopted, and you do that continually because that's what you believe about yourself.
Right.
But if you chose to start telling yourself a different story, the habit might change. It might not be overnight, because for years and years and years, you've told yourself this story about yourself. But if you tell yourself a different story, even though it feels foreign, even though it feels like a lie, right? You're like, no, I'm a person who's on time. I'm always on time. The more you tell yourself that, the more it gets in your brain, and the more you start functioning out of that belief. It's Romans 12 in action. We're transformed by the renewing of our mind. So if we tell ourselves a different story that's true according to the word of God and according to how God wired us, we can start changing behavior patterns because we're changing our mindset.
Yes. Yes, that's good. So grab your beverage. Let's talk. We're drinking coffee and tea here tonight.
I got detox tea in here.
Come on, somebody.
You know, we're living it up on Thursday night here, guys.
Question number 4 is, how do I let go of someone who has hurt me in the past, but they're so dear that I don't want to blame them? Hold on. I don't want to let them go but it does affect my mental health. So how do I let go of someone that I kind of love?
Relationships, right? Friendships. This can be platonic or romantic. How do I let go of a person that I care about? But it's not healthy for me to be in a relationship with them any longer.
This is very important because we all have these relationships because we were built for community. We got to know this.
Right.
We long to do our lives with other people, friendships, romantic relationships.
Right.
We all long for love, and we all long for relationship. That's healthy. It's okay.
I just long for my hair to just stay still for a minute. Sorry, guys.
You look beautiful.
Thanks.
Doesn't she look beautiful?
Oh, stop. Thank you. All right.
So basically, this is it. My friend Drew Neal, he says this, if you're watching, Drew, giving you a shout out here. He talked about value and risk in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what relationships come down to, is value and risk. How much am I willing to risk to get the value of what I need in this relationship? And that might seem selfish, but you can flip it on its head as well. Is how much am I giving to this relationship? How much are they risking? How much do they value what I'm giving to the relationship? Because what happens is people get taken advantage of because we all long to be in relationship and be in community. And we have this fear and this insecurity that if I let go of this relationship, I'm never going to see another relationship. If I let go of this person that I'm romantically involved in, I'm not going to do any better.
And I think that's a good point. Are we staying in this relationship, regardless if it's friendship or romantic, out of fear?
Right. If I don't have a friend, like this person is a close friend,
no one else is going to love me, right? No one else is going to befriend me.
Am I going to have a friend I can do life with like this?
Right.
The truth is, every relationship is a risk. When I married Megan at 21 years old, we took a huge risk, and we said, listen, the value that we're bringing to this relationship is worth the risk. The fact that I get to do life with Megan is worth the risk of getting hurt by Megan. We're going to hurt each other.
Yeah.
Relationships, you get hurt in every relationship you're in. Every single one of them. We are going to hurt people that we love the most. They're going to hurt us. But is the risk of loving them and the value that you're getting enough of getting hurt?
And we're talking essentially about how we're not talking about abuse. We're not talking about things that hurt habitually extremely
If you're getting
unhealthy.
physically abused, verbally abused, just get the heck
Yeah,
out of
that's
Dodge. Get
not a
that
healthy
person
relationship to be
out
in.
of your life
Right.
for once and for all. But,
Right.
but we're talking healthy relationship. You're just trying to move forward from someone. What's the value versus the risk that
Yeah,
you're getting?
and I think, is it a relationship that you feel like you could have a conversation with? This is a little bit tricky to speak to because every relationship is so different, right?
Oh, so
Everyone has different nuances,
Mhm.
and sometimes it warrants a conversation with
Mhm.
someone that says, "I love you, I value you, I don't agree with what you're doing right now. I need to put some distance between us." Sometimes that's the case. Other times the person you're with in a relationship with, that conversation would not be worth it to have because they just won't hear you. So you just need to put some distance between the two of you. But you also don't want to be passive aggressive in that, right? So it's really knowing that relationship. Why am I staying in it? Right? What's my motivation for staying in it? Is it self-protecting? Is it fear? Is it because I care about them? And then knowing how to move forward and be able to put some distance between you if you need it.
If the relationship is one-sided only, it's time to move on. You need to get some value
Yes.
out of the relationship. There's so many times where a relationship is I'm giving, I'm asking the questions. I'm that person is in a great relationship with me, but I'm the one always giving. It shouldn't be one-sided.
Right.
There should be value on both sides
Mhm.
of the relationship. Let's go on to the next question,
Okay.
which is this.
How do I let go of negative thought patterns?
Wow. Well, I'm going to give you the real simple answer to this, and then maybe Megan, you can get a little more complex with this. The simple is this, okay? I am a person who used to really struggle with negative thought patterns, very much so. So, for instance, we sold our home, and we were gonna build a house. That's what Megan and I decided to do. But in the meantime, we had to move into a condo. And I remember when we sold our home, we moved into this condo. I woke up in this condo thinking this was the worst decision we ever made. I can't believe I'm living in this condo instead of my home. I shipwrecked our lives. Our lives are going to be horrible now. We're going to drown financially. It's never going to be the same. All these negative thoughts. And what I literally did is I brought myself into a depression and an anxiety attack. Eventually, my body shut down and said, I need to protect you because you're so negative and you're in pain, that I went into fight or flight mode, had an anxiety attack, went into this deep depression. Here's the thing. I realized when you have a mental breakdown,
you got to deal with your thoughts.
and you're forced to deal with your thoughts.
Yeah.
You journal a lot, you think through things, and you realize that I've got to change my mindset. We're so off to have. There's so many good things. I'm blessed. I've got this girl, possibilities, and an excited mindset. Versus when you're negative, you can get down and your body will have.
And there's always a way to break things, right? I always say, what if I flip this around? What if I retrain your mind? Okay.
This is lovely. I love when you get going. Capable of a different level of expectation. For instance, you give me something to do, I'm going to do it probably faster than most people are going to do. That's just the way I'm wired. Now, there's people who are going to do it better and faster than me. There's going to be people who do it slower than I do it. So what's the expectation? How many hours should it take? Is it my level? Is it the person above me? Is it the person below me? There's 3 different ways to do the same task, and there's different expectations. So if I get a boss who, does things or expects things that like I can't live up to, I'm going to feel behind all the time. If I get someone who's like, oh, just take 2 days to do this task that would take me 2 hours, I'm going to feel under challenged. So I guess you got to identify what is that expectation. It's subjective. So the point is, what is it for myself? Is it realistic for me? Is it realistic for my spouse? Is it realistic for my coworkers? Is it realistic for my friend?
Right.
Because we all can handle different level of expectation. So realistic expectation is different for everyone. And we tend to be harder on ourselves than everyone else.
And I think when you're creating expectation, like for yourself, Don't base it on your ideal self.
Right.
I am the worst at this, just admittedly. We were just talking about this today, but base it on a realistic like take for instance, it takes you in a perfect world, if you hit every single red light or green light, it would take you 20 minutes to get to a destination. You can time it out. So you give yourself 17 minutes because you're like, I'm going to beat the system, but you don't. And then you hit all the red lights instead, and then you're there in like 27 minutes. Okay.
Right.
So try to create that expectation that is not about the best possible scenario, but giving yourself some buffer room for if not everything goes perfect.
Exactly. Because, and count it as a gift. You know, Megan and I have different expectations. An artist, she's creative, she's thoughtful, she's going to do things at a higher level, but take more time.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to get things done faster, but the quality isn't going to be as good as her. So we have to be able to be realistic with our expectations. So ask yourself, is this realistic for me? Is it realistic for my spouse? Is it realistic for my friend? Is it realistic for my coworker? People cannot read your minds. We need to have conversations about how realistic this is. All right, we've got one last question.
Is that it? One last one? Okay.
Yes.
All right, guys.
So the question is how to let go of the life you thought you would have versus the life you do have.
You know, and this came in on Facebook kind of late this afternoon. I was so excited about it because I'm like, that's our story. That is quintessential no small life. What happens when life does not go as you planned? Life throws you a curveball. How do you regroup and to rebuild a life that you love? That is our whole message.
That's our message. And here's the thing I can tell you is like, okay, so Megan and I's story was this. You know, we started trying to have kids at 25 years old. We thought we'd have 2 kids by 30 years old. We thought we would have this whole, we moved to the suburbs. We were going to put our kids in good schools. We had this whole plan for a future. Well, we couldn't have kids. And infertility struck with us. We tried for years and years and years, 11 years, could not have kids, couldn't adopt kids, went through a few processes. Things didn't work out the way we hoped they would. So now what? Well, Megan and I are 42 years old. All of our money is our own. We can leave whenever we want and go on vacation. We spend whatever we want on us. We love each other. We have a good marriage. We date and mate most of them more than any married friends we know. So we've made the best of the situation. And some people will look at our lives and be like, man, you guys are so lucky. It's just the 2 of you. You don't have kids. You can travel. You can start ministries and blogs, and you can do all these things as you have all this extra time. You don't realize is it's also very painful. You know, there's seasons of time, like around the holidays, where we feel lonely, where we don't have tradition with family. We don't have family legacy. We're not going to know what it's like to be a parent or a grandparent. I'm not going to be able to see Megan as a mom. She's not going to be able to see me as a dad. You know, we're not going to have that experience in the hospital room. Oh, that was the best moment of my life when my baby was born.
So we get it.
We get it. But here's the thing. We focus to look at we try to look at the positives. We try to focus on the positives of this. We could go on the negatives, get bitter and dark. So if you're looking at your life and you're saying, man, I thought my life would be this and it's this, maybe it's the opposite of us. You got 5 kids and you got throw up and poop all over you all day.
And you're like, this is not what I planned for my life. Right?
The truth is, focus on those positives. Because there's a lot of positives of the life that you have right now. What are the great things about your life? Do you have family tradition? Do you get to see that kid who smiles just like your husband or you? Do you get to see your spouse interact with your kid and be so proud? If you're divorced, do you get to see like your kid growing up and you've raised that kid and you're proud and you've provided for that? There's a lot of things to be proud of and to focus on. And what we choose to focus on the positive, we begin to accept the life we have and build a new blueprint for our lives that is just more amazing than we ever thought possible.
And I think that's the key, is to build a new blueprint. So you're here today, you're watching this, you're going, okay, life did not go as I had planned. So we have 2 choices, right? We get bitter about it or we get better. we choose to, like Chris said, focus on the negative and let it weigh us down and become a version of ourselves that we don't like, which then we gave that circumstance power over who we are. Okay. And nothing can ever change who we are unless we let it. It can change our circumstances, right? But we get to choose who we become through those circumstances. Okay. So this may be your reality right now, but how do you thrive here?
Yes.
What do you do here? How do you put down roots in your actual life? Okay, let's say that we're in Michigan right now, but all I wanted to do was live in Tennessee. I just want to live in Tennessee. I just want to live in Nashville. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Well, I'm here. Okay, so how do I grow richly in the soil that I'm planted in? And that's a conversation with you and the Lord, and with being really honest with yourself. Am I thriving here? Am I giving my all in this actual life that I do have, instead of wishing for the one that I wanted? Because when you take a look at your life, what Chris was saying, there are good things. There are positive things, and you focus on and you cultivate those things and you grow in those things, and you never know what God's going to do. I'll tell you what, when I was, 27, crying into my pillow going, God, what the heck? I followed you my whole life. Like, what is this? Why? I could have never imagined that he would be like, just keep trusting me, because it's not going to look like what you thought, but I'm going to bring beauty from ashes. I'm going to bring purpose from pain,
Yes.
right? We're going to start a ministry that gets to minister to all these people. And it wouldn't have happened if we had kids. So was it what we planned? No. But is God good? Yeah, he's great. And he has a way of healing your heart. And it doesn't make it perfect. Like Chris said, there's still really, really, really hard things about this. But God's faithful through it. And he redeems it, and he restores it, and he gives you joy, and he shows you how to live fully in the life that you do have.
Yes. So basically what we're saying is your life is not small.
Right.
Circumstances can make our lives feel small. Family can make our lives feel small. As we go through life and not going the way we thought, loss, tragedy can make our lives feel small. But your life isn't small. No. It's big. It's purposeful. And so coming up this next month, we're going to talk about this, like how to let go of a victim mentality. That's something we're going to be talking about. Yeah. We're going to be talking about, what else are we talking about?
How to let go of insecurity.
How to let go of insecurity. Wow. How to let go of resentment.
Yeah.
That's something we're going to touch on next week. So we want to encourage you. We're going to continue to do these lives on the fourth Thursday of each month, 7 p.m. You can submit questions at nosmalllifebooking@gmail.com. You can also DM us on Instagram at nosmallife, on Facebook at nosmallife, and we will answer those questions on these lives. We're also going to be producing content each week. If you haven't done so yet, you can go to our website, nosmallife.me, and you can download our ebook, Bitter to Better. Yeah. You can also, if you want to partner with us and getting this hope out to more people, you can do so at nosmallife.me/donate. Yeah. So thanks for joining us tonight. We look forward to answering your questions and to hang out with you in the very near future. But in the meantime, remember what, Megan?
Your life is not small.
That's right.
Have a great night, you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you later.